Hello friends, I welcome you all again to my audio tutorial. My name is Harshit Dwivedi. So, in today's audio tutorial, I will tell you about the August offer of 1940. I would like to say that in this tutorial, I will also give you a basic introduction of how the process of the formation of the first Constituent Assembly of India was started. In my previous audio tutorials, around 13 audio tutorials I have uploaded till now. So in these 13 audio tutorials, I have covered from Regulating Act of 1773 to Indian Independence Act of 1947. So in these audio tutorials, I have only told you about the political decisions, administrative portfolios, the working of the East India Company, the laws that were made by the British government to control the East India Company. So in these audio tutorials, I have told you only this. I have not covered the rest of the history that happened in this period of 1773 to 1947. The reason for that was that currently the audio tutorials that I am uploading, they are related to Indian polity and constitution. So I am telling you only those things that are related to Indian polity and constitution. If you want to know about the history of India from 1773 to 1947, you have to listen my history audio tutorials that are also uploaded on the website named www.articlemaniac.org. I will spell it www.articlemaniac.org. So, coming back to the main point. So, if we trace that, suppose someone asks me the question that when for the first time was the idea of the formation of Constituent Assembly of India propounded, then my answer would be 1934. Because in 1934, for the very first time, by M.N. Roy, who was a pioneer of communist movement in India and an advocate of radical democratism, he put forward an idea of Constituent Assembly for India. This was the very first time when an individual had put forward an idea of the formation of an independent Constituent Assembly of India, which will form the Constitution of India. These views were also reflected in the words of the Indian National Congress. Indian National Congress in 1935 for the first time officially demanded a Constituent Assembly which would be entrusted with the task of forming the Constitution of India. After that, in 1938, Jawaharlal Nehru, who was representing the Indian National Congress, declared that the constitution of the country named India must be framed independently. Now, framing our constitution independently meant that it should be framed without any outside interference. So, these were the movements that were going on at that time in the period of 1934 to 1938. And the British government finally realized that it is important that to hear to the demands of the Indian leaders and the leading political party of India, and the masses, the political view of the masses was also in favor of the formation of a Constituent Assembly of India, because by that time the masses and the British government knew that somehow in the future time they have to leave India. The British government had to leave India. Everybody knew that. So British government thought that is the right time. And because of that, the demand of forming a Constituent Assembly of India was finally accepted by the British government in what was termed as the August offer of 1940. Now here we have to understand in detail what the August offer of 1940 meant, because in this August offer of 1940 there was some, you can say, some favor of British government also, because this August offer of 1942 was prepared by the British government not only to form the Constituent Assembly of India, but it was an attempt from the part of British government to cater the help of India in the war. So I will here tell you in detail about the various important features of the August offer of 1940. In civil services prelims, there are full chances that you can be asked questions related to the August offer of 1940. So here it is. So finally, on August 8, 1940, early in the Battle of Britain, the Viceroy of India, Lord Linlithgow, made the August offer. Now in this August offer, an attempt was made in order to win over the sympathies of the Indian masses and political parties during the war. The document, which is known as the August offer, promised for the establishment of an independent Indian Constituent Assembly with completely indigenous representation and a power to frame the future constitution of the country. The offer also provided the option for the extension of the Viceroy's Executive Council, and it also mentioned the rights of minorities, especially Muslims, as it declared that the majority community will not be given the veto power and full weight would be given to the views of the minorities in making the constitution. However, the document made it clear that all the promises that are being made in the document will be fulfilled and completed only after the conclusion of the war, and that too when, if all the political parties and communities of India would help the British government in their war. That means at that time of 1940, when the Britain war was going on, it was basically an offer by the Britain government to appease the Indians to help them to fight the war, and in exchange of that, they said that they will give the Indians more representation. And basically by saying that they will look after the rights of the minorities, they tried to make their stand strong, as we can see here. So the main proposals that were put in, I would like to repeat the main proposals that I have already said here. They were that after the war, as soon as the war will finish, that the Battle of Britain will finish, a representative Indian body would be set up to frame a constitution of India. This was the first most important characteristic of the August offer. That as soon as the war will be finished, a representative Indian body, which will be called as the Constituent Assembly of India, would be set up to frame a constitution of India. Second most important point was that the British government in the document assured to the minorities, especially Muslims, that the British government would not transfer power to any system of government whose authority is directly denied by large and powerful elements in the Indian national life. That is, that the Muslims at that time, and they were represented by the Muslim League, thought that if the British government is going to change, and if the British are going to go out, then the country India will be converted into a Hindu Raj. And they wanted appropriate representation of Muslims in it. So basically, this concern of the Muslims were already told to the British government, and the British government said that they will not transfer their power to any Indian government whose authority is being challenged by the community of the minorities. So this was the second most important point of the August offer of 1940. The third most important point of the August offer of 1940 was that the Viceroy's Executive Council will be expanded immediately after the end of the war. That is, indirectly we can say that more representation was being promised by the British government in the Executive Council of the Viceroy. That is, the strength of the Executive Council of the Viceroy would be increased and more Indians will be appointed to it. That means that the control of Indians over the administration of their own country will become more strong. So these were the main points of the August offer of 1940. But this offer of 1940 was not approved by the Congress. And even Jawaharlal Nehru, on the behalf of the Indian National Congress, said that the whole idea was dead and doornail. So, after this August offer of 1940, when there was not a consensus on it, then in 1942, Sir Stafford Cripps, a member of the cabinet of the British, came to India with a draft proposal of the British government on the framing of an independent constitution to be adopted after the World War II. This was known as the Cripps proposal. So, I have already told you about the main characteristic features of the August offer, and significant modifications were again made by the British government in the August offer of 1942, and it was again presented in 1942, and the document that was presented in 1942 is famously known as the Cripps proposal. We have heard about the Cripps proposal many times in newspapers, magazines. So this Cripps proposal was basically a significant modification of the August offer of 1940 in order to appease all the involved parties. However, this Cripps proposal was rejected by the Muslim League. Now, about the Cripps proposal, I will tell you in detail in my next audio tutorial. Thank you. Hello friends, I welcome you all again to my audio tutorial. My name is Harshit Dwivedi. So,